This is other state champ Alex Thompson. This is Josh Elwer from the University of Northern Iowa, and you're listening to Potentially Dangerous on IA Wrestle.
Hey, is this heaven?
No, it's Iowa.
From high school to international wrestling, on the mat and beyond, this is the Potentially Dangerous podcast with the guys from IA Wrestle.
If you're a fighter, you like a fight. If you're an American, you like a fight. If you're an Iowa Hawkeye, you know you're going to get a fight.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and all your podcast-friendly apps. And follow us on social media platforms at IA Wrestle. Time to strap it up and get to the show. Welcome back to Potentially Dangerous. This is episode 84, and it feels like it's been forever since myself. I mean, Ross has been on here, but feels like it's been a while since I've been on here. I've been on the road and taking a little time off with my babies, and but Ross, you're just holding down the fort, and welcome. I'm Tony Hager. This is IA Wrestle's Potentially Dangerous, presented by MyHouse, and Ross Barczyk joins me here tonight for this next episode, and we got a lot to talk about. Lots of coaching changes, wrestlers going different places. We got a lot to handle here.
You know, we've talked about it. The last podcast, the NCAA wrap-up podcast, that stuff was going to come fast and furious at the end of the year, and it didn't disappoint. Like you said, lots of coaching changes. Big time, headline grabbing news came out just a couple weeks after, so I'm ready to get into it.
I haven't even been on since we got voted as the wrestling website of the year. So we haven't really talked about it a whole lot, but it's kind of one of those things where we work so hard and we just expect it to happen. I guess we think we're the best wrestling website out there, state website, anyways. Yeah, kudos to you, Ross. Publicly, I want you obviously knock out a ton of articles for us, so kudos to you. And the wrestling fans notice. They notice what we're doing, and obviously the media notices too. So that's pretty cool. Yeah,
it was a really great honor. It's always nice to we're, like you said, we're a state website, so it's always nice when you see the Open Mat or the Flow Wrestling, something that covers national news, and they're citing IA Wrestle. So that's always fun. Really enjoyed our time, Tony. Killing it. Well,
let's we got our foot down on the gas. My phone was broke literally for like a week, and it's not that I didn't want to get it fixed, but I just had stuff that I had to do, and I didn't make it priority. So I was like trying to get inside information on Iowa State, trying to find out where Iowa State coaches were going, and I was doing it all by like iMessage on my computer. It was just a nightmare, but we were still able to break the Derek St. John news. So that obviously that's up on the website. That's old news, but the latest news is Mike Evans, the stash. We broke that news Monday that he is going to be going to Campbell, and it's not like let's say a shocker that he is leaving. Do you say? I mean, he was a Hawkeye Wrestling Club member. I mean, there's only so many spots on the staff.
It did kind of feel like when he came back last summer that it was kind of going to be one of those things where he was between jobs. He was at Cal Poly for a year before Brendan Buckley took a new position with Beat the Street. So it kind of felt like that was transition for him coming back to Iowa City, but I didn't see Campbell coming. That just that one took me by surprise, going out there.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with someone Saturday night sitting around a fire, and someone told me, hey, you're really going to like the person that is coming to Campbell. So that was and I mentioned like 6 different people that I liked. But I forgot that I kind of went through this stash days when IA Wrestle first started. I don't know if you remember this or not, but Fear of the Stash was a hashtag for a while that I had going. But yeah, I'm super happy for Mike Evans. Nice guy. During in college, he had a few off the mat problems, but really kind of stepped up and got things done for Iowa. So kudos to him. What is a shocker for me though is the Brett Metcalf news. I did not see Brett Metcalf ever in. I could see him in red, white, and blue for USA Wrestling, but did not see him in cardinal and gold.
Oh man, I felt like I remember talking to you about this because it was like pretty sure Zadok and St. John were coming with. I think what it came down like Zadok. I don't know if he was a lock to go to Iowa State after Virginia Tech. There was some kind of talk that he might even be done coaching if he didn't go to Iowa State. But we knew that was going to go down. It kind of felt to us like a certainty. And then, we're talking about, hey, who's going to get that last coaching spot on the staff? Is it going to be Esco? Who is it going to be? Maybe are they going to call Tony Ramos? Never in 100 years did I think it'd be Brett Metcalf. So once we started to get that buzz going, it was it's still kind of hard to see right now visually. It's striking, and it affects me on a different level just after seeing this guy in black and yellow his whole life, it seems like. And now here he is, I'm a Cyclone, let's do it.
Yeah, so it was pretty crazy just texting him when I was trying to break the news. I heard that he was there, and I texted him, and he just was, I guess I probably shouldn't say what he said, but it was just kind of a weird conversation to have because, we've seen Brett Metcalf at the golf outings, and I've seen him, at Hawkeye events, at Night of Conflict. He's been a coach there twice, and, bleeds black and gold, and but, this is a testament to, what kind of a person he is, because I think this was solely based off of what he wanted the best for his family. After talking to him, obviously good for his coaching career, but family was like a number one deal for him with this. It's been rumored that he's making over $150,000, double his salary from USA Wrestling, so if anyone is butthurt about it, then they just have a crappy job and have never tried to get a pay raise, because this is a big pay raise, and I would if I could double my salary, I'd go to anywhere probably. So,
right, and he got to stay more local. Yeah, so that worked out. You touched on it a little bit, but what are we going to do now that the two-time defending Night of Conflict coach is gone?
Yeah,
we got to bring somebody in. We're going to need a ringer.
Yeah, well, we don't know what's going on with Matt McDonough. Is he going to be? I think he's going to be there for a while. I think the coaches know how big he is for recruiting. He's going to be big for Spencer Lee. So keeping Matt McDonough around, all around just good guy, doesn't have a lot of conflict. So I think you'd have Matt McDonough. Ideal situation would be Night of Conflict 3, October 14th, Carver Hawkeye Arena, Matt McDonough versus Jesse Delgado. I'm gonna put Matt on notice right now. If you're gonna stay in wrestling, you've got how many months to prepare? It's April 10th. You have got 6 months and 4 days ish to prepare for Jesse Delgado. I think my math is right. I don't know. But I mean, he's obviously been dealing with some injuries, but those would be two good coaches to have at Night of Conflict.
Yeah, we certainly have pulled from Illinois in the past. So if you want to be a coach or is he on the Illini staff?
Ooh. Yeah, he might officially be on staff. I don't know. We'd have to check that out. Actually, obviously, if he's on staff, that's a no-no. But
he still might be able to compete. I just don't know about be an actual coach. But regardless, yeah, having McDonough back would be huge. You guys this past weekend you had Tom Brands on Takedown Radio, and he had some more news for us saying, Dan Dennis is definitely staying around. He didn't rule out a 2017 World Run, but he ruled out the U.S. Open for him and for Gilman, who's sticking around. So you got three guys in the Hawkeye room at 57 kilos that are probably, they're definitely top 10 nationally between the three of them if they all compete.
I'm pretty disappointed with who Io is sending to the U.S. Open. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, nothing to take away from Dardanes, Telford, Burak, but Thomas Gilman, Dan Dennis, those are the guys, right? Those are the top contenders in the country, and you want to see those guys compete. So, not sure. Maybe Gilman's just trying to take a little time off, but this is, I don't want to say an easy qualifier, but a way to get into those world team trials. So, it is what it is. But
I heard Sammy Brooks is. I mean, this isn't talking to Sammy, but I heard that he's pretty close to. They're pretty sure he's sticking around. That's kind of some scuttlebutt I got. A lot of people are talking about how, they're loaded at lightweights, don't have any other bigger guys. Obviously, once Phil Keddy left, Burak's been the only upper weight, not a heavyweight. So I heard Sammy Brooks might be sticking around too.
I don't know anything about Sammy Brooks's freestyle background or accolades. I feel like he'd be a good Greco guy, but
he was. I know he was on a cadet team in high school, and he was the University Nationals runner-up to Morgan McIntosh last summer. I know that. So I mean, he's pretty good in freestyle. I mean, he's obviously got those tilts that were his bread and butter on top, but so I don't know how his parterre is, but he's good on his feet.
Yeah, so with Iowa, I was talking about the Hawkeye Wrestling Club a lot here with Metcalf being gone. I think that was a big shocker for a lot of people. Spencer Lee was on Takedown Radio here a couple weeks ago, and we touched on Gavin Teasdale decommitting, and I was kind of prying a little bit to see. These guys are good friends. They committed together, kind of see, hey, did you know that this was coming down the pipeline? And Spencer did not know anything really about it. I don't know if he kind of just he's happy for him, obviously, but there's nothing that sounds like Spencer could have done to keep him. What was it? What I think I like about Spencer for the Iowa Hawkeyes is he's like, I got to have the best guys in that room to make me better. I'm going to start recruiting, and a name that's been thrown out there is Roman Bravo Young. We've talked to Roman, with Bravo Young, and he hasn't opened up the recruiting. He hasn't opened that up yet. But other people are saying that he is, but that's not true. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to him must have been last week, and I said, this rumor's out there. Is it true? And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure he's still committed to Penn State. Obviously, it's just a verbal right now. So he can change that pretty easily, but I don't know why he would lie about it, so.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be an obvious person to go get, for if you're Spencer Lee. If you got Spencer Lee, RBY, and Teasdale in the same room, and that's going to be a pretty brutal stretch of guys to try to get on the mat. So if I'm
Nick Suriano, did you say him?
Yeah, Suriano. Yeah, I was thinking Spencer. Never mind. Yeah, so
sorry.
At Penn State, yeah. So you got Teasdale and Bravo Young there, Suriano there. I mean, when are these guys going to get on the mat? I mean, Suriano's locked in as the guy at 25 for the next 3 years. So you would think, anyways. So
for sure,
redshirt year, but so RBY is probably not out of the question. But let's not, if you're an Iowa fan, don't get your hopes up because he has not decommitted or said he's opened that up. So if you have read anything that's not maybe not right from RBY, so maybe that's just a hopeful that he is on the free market. But
I also don't get the Iowa fans saying that the reason we saw it a lot when we posted the news on our Facebook and Twitter that. It would sure be nice to have Jason Renneria and Justin Mejia, but Teasdale committing was a reason that those guys flipped or, decommitted, pulled the verbal, whatever you want to call it. And to me, I don't see it that way. We're pretty close with both those guys. We got to know them very well, Tony, both the recruits. And I know for certain Iowa made a concerted effort to keep Justin around. I think I think Renteria was a little bit tougher. I think when it came down to it with Spencer Lee, I think Iowa kind of had to make a decision. Do we try and keep Renteria? Do we try and keep Mejia? And I think they kind of went the Mejia route. They were hoping that, he was a diehard Hawkeye, wanted to come. And I think it could have worked. I think they were just a little bit apart on the expectations and what both sides wanted. And I don't think it was because of Teasdale, because I think the Iowa staff is smart enough to know, they're not going to count on a recruit until he's in the house or he's signed his letter of intent. So they didn't stop recruiting Justin after Teasdale committed. So I just kind of wanted to say that because it really bugs me that people would think that, they gave up on them and Justin and Renteria, they were both just mad out of spite. I think there was something that tried to get worked out, but, you got to come to a mutual agreement. It's both sides. And if you can't meet at the end of the day, you go different ways. And that's kind of what happened.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't understand when, these young guys commit that I don't think a lot of dollar figures are kind of talked about, scholarship money-wise, for until it's time to commit, I guess. So I don't know if, once Teasdale committed, maybe those parents or wrestlers said, well, where would I fit in this scholarship-wise? And I think maybe that conversation might have happened, and what they thought they were just assuming that they would get based off of who they are, well, you bring somebody in like Spencer Lee, and you got to spend more money. You got to spend more money on a guy like Spencer Lee. So, no offense to Jason Renteria or Justin Mejia, but Spencer Lee, 3-time world champ, you got to do what you got to do to get those in. So obviously they wanted to keep those guys, but they're obviously going to find their ways, and it could be a nice little rivalry down the road. So good way to bring that up though is. We don't know what happens behind the doors, and it's just like coaching. You can't keep all these Iowa coaches. You can't keep all the recruits. When you got people, committing as freshmen and sophomore, it just drives me insane. People decommitting, but Spencer kind of, I don't know. He kind of made me realize that I shouldn't be such a jerk about it, and your word is your word in my mind, but we're talking about teenagers here, so it's a different world that you're living in when you're 14, 15 years old than when you're 32 years old. So I'm not so upset when people decommit. I'm not just talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes, everybody in general. Anyways, okay, so let's
speaking of you can't keep all these coaches. What in the world is going to go on with the rest of that Iowa State staff, Tony? I know you got something. Got something.
Well, the Paulsons are very an intriguing, I think, get for any kind of college. They are very, very good with recruiting. They grind. They'll go to the tournaments. They'll coach the tournaments that they can coach in. I have a feeling, though, that they waited too long for their opportunity for a bigger job. I do think that they didn't see the writing on the wall, maybe, or try to write it out like with KJ. But I think if they would have tried to go out on their own, maybe a year before, they could definitely maybe get a head coaching job. But now I just feel like their name just kind of gets shuffled at the bottom because of what maybe an institution has heard about them, which is really unfortunate because they're really great people. What I do know is they applied for the Pitt job. I think Travis did, Trent did, but they ended up not being a finalist. Obviously, a lot of people applied for that. We don't know what the hell's going on out at Pitt.
Saying it lightly.
Yeah, we don't know what the heck's going on. You could apply for it, and you could be freaking Dan Gable, and you just get, we don't want Dan Gable. So I think some other realistic options. I don't think they're going to get a head coaching job unless they do decide to go maybe at a lower level or a lower institution. What I think is going to happen, this is no inside information. I've got some ideas where they kind of want to go, but this is not from Trent or Travis. But I think that they're not going to just not coach this year. So what I think is going to happen, I think we'll see Travis in Virginia, and I think we'll see Trent at Campbell with Garrett Kiley. I think they're going to find a way to make it happen with the RTC there at Campbell to bring Trent on. Travis has got some options. I know, again, he applied for Pitt. Davidson is on his list as well. But I've been hearing some rumblings about Virginia. So, again, that's not, I guess you could call it some inside information, but that's not coming from Travis's mouth. So, Virginia, Pitt, Davidson, I think you might see Travis end up. I think you might see Trent at Campbell. Escobedo, I'm not going to, I don't want to get into that one because I feel like that news is going to break here soon. So, but we'll have that on iawrestle.com. I'm trying to think. We could touch on the Cyclone Wrestling Club wrestlers, too. Mike Moreno, guy that we, Dresser, Iowa boy, Dresser said that he's sticking around, but I don't think that is locked in. I think if the Paulsons do get a job somewhere, I think you'll see, Moreno and the Paulsons, great relationship. I think you'll see Moreno go wherever those guys do go. And I don't think Gadsden's a lock either, Ross. You talked to him at War at West Gym, and he brought up Sunkist, didn't he? Or did he bring up going somewhere else, if I remember right?
Yeah, he said he wants to look at Arizona State, and I suppose that'd probably be the Sunkist Club. I don't know if they have an opening on their staff or not. I'm not sure on that. I know they got Oliver, Pritz, and I feel like someone else. Anyway. So, yeah, I think Arizona State's a legit option. His coach was KJ. Not to say Dresser isn't a good coach, and not to say that he didn't do a good job bringing in, Metcalf and Zadok, who are really good freestyle wrestlers. But it's very conceivable that Gadsden would want to go. He's losing the Paulsons. He's losing guys that he worked out with. I could see him trying to go somewhere else and finding somebody that's his size to work out with. So I think that's really conceivable. But he is he's a Cyclone. So I know that he's got a lot in loyalty too. That's just kind of what I get from him. Obviously, you know him a lot better, but
yeah, you said he's been a Cyclone all his life. He said that multiple times. He's a man of faith and loyalty, but he has no one left. If Escobedo leaves, which is going to probably happen, he's got nobody he's been mentoring him by his side anymore. So why not take an opportunity where, like Arizona State, Sunkist kids that are going to pay him to to help him and his family out. So I definitely think that's a possibility. Dresser said that he's staying, but as of right now, I think that option's still open. So. A lot of things to be figured out with Iowa State for sure.
Speaking of their wrestling club and Dresser, I know Ty Walls, Tony Roby at Virginia Tech announced that Walls is going to be staying out there. Southeast Regional Training Center stepped up, got some donations to keep Ty Walls out there. But do you know anybody else that may be coming in?
Well, I talked to... Obviously, you got to just assume that they're going to try to get as many people from Virginia Tech at Iowa State. But, first off, I want to get out of the way. I talked to Dresser. I don't know if you haven't listened to an interview that I talked to him after the press conferences. He's like, he just really said right out the bat, I'm not going to steal anybody. I don't want to steal any recruits or anything like that. So, if they want to come to him, then I'm sure he's not going to say no. But Dresser's not going to actively say, hey, come follow me to Virginia Tech. I think that's the same with guy like Joey Dance, who I talked to today. But it's there's different, though. It's a post-grad. So, I know that Dresser has reached out to Joey Dance, and he wants Joey to be there, but, he's got to finish up college, sociology major, so, he wants to wrestle, though. He told me today that he is going to wrestle through 2020 at 57 kilograms. He's going to be a big 57 kilogram wrestler. In my mind, he'll be a big guy for that weight class. So, but he's got a lot of options. He's got a lot of institutions after him because everybody wants a lightweight guy, So I think that Joey Dance has got some really good opportunities in front of him from what I've talked to him. So I don't think Iowa State's a lock, but I got to say it's probably towards the top of his list. So that'll be something to follow too. I don't think we'll hear that shake out until after he graduates. So April, May, June, in that time frame. So, but that would be a good one for Iowa State. If Escobedo does leave, you feel another the lightweight guy in there. So.
That, kind of circling back to that Pitt job, this one kind of took me by surprise. I mean, especially because Chris Bono, South Dakota State, former Iowa State standout, comes on Takedown Radio, and you guys asked him, the coaching carousel, his name gets brought up. Why wouldn't it? He's coming off South Dakota State's most successful season ever. I mean, he's completely built that program into something. And he tells you, I'm committed, I'm staying here, I'm entrenched. And then what was it, like 4 days later, they announced he's looking at he's going to be interviewed for the Pitt job. And then that interview gets postponed. It's sometime this week. I don't know if they've talked about when it'll be, but all of a sudden Chris Bono could be on the move. And I don't know. That one takes me by surprise. If he does leave, I might be just as shocked as, Metcalf going to Iowa State. It's just, I didn't think that was happening.
I mean, I feel like South Dakota State job is one of those, you kind of think about what part of the country he is in. So recruiting-wise, you're trying to pull guys from Iowa, the Midwest. I mean, there's not a ton of good kids from the Dakotas, let's be real. So it wouldn't shock me that he would bump up, but what would shock me is maybe he could leverage this with South Dakota State to get more money, because I know that they are getting tons of support. Heck, he's flown to Night of Conflict twice. He came to War at West Gym. He came to Iowa High School State Tournament. I mean, I feel like every big tournament that we're at, Chris Bono and John Reeder are right there. So I know South Dakota State's supporting him a lot, but again, money talks, and Pitt would be a more attractive job for recruits, money-wise and support-wise. It might not be the same as South Dakota State, but it's definitely a more attractive job if I'm Chris Bono.
Well, then you got to wonder, and this is probably a little too much speculation, but if Bono did go to Pitt, would he even take Reeder, or would Reeder want his own take the South Dakota State program? So that just could be complete game changer there out west.
Yeah, I mean, if I think I'm Reeder, I carry that momentum that those guys have built. I feel like he could stay at South Dakota State, or it might be something to where he rides that train too, that him and Bono have been able to build together. I don't know. You just, dollars and cents are completely different than loyalty sometimes, and I don't blame a single person for changing for any kind of money. That's something that our sport really lacks, is business CEOs, money hungry people. I mean, we just can't all be doing this stuff for free, and that's what wrestling really has been about. And I think this dresser hiring and finding out what these assistant coaches are making is game changing for the wrestling world for coaches. And you've got volunteer assistants. I mean, we've got guys coming out of college that just graduated are saying that I want $80,000, $100,000 to coach. That is insane. That is an insane amount of money. And that's all coming from hearing people like Kevin Dresser getting these hires, and what they can do with the RTC. They've raised $850,000 at Iowa State in like 4 weeks, so it can be done. But back to the Pitt job, yes, Chris Bono would be crazy at Pitt. John Reeder at Pitt would be even crazier. South Dakota State would be in shambles if those two guys left. AJ Shop obviously could do a good job, but they'd have to bring in somebody, South Dakota State, and they need to do. If Bono's going to do it, he needs to do it quickly. To kind of save face, I guess you could say. but that'd be insane.
What else you got, man? What else is on the docket? We got a lot to talk about, I'm sure.
There literally is too much to talk about. I want to touch on Grandview's pipeline to Iowa State.
Nope. Iowa State.
Grandview's pipeline to Iowa from Iowa State. Yes.
There you go.
Ronaldo Rodriguez Spencer. We heard about this news a little bit around Christmas time that he was leaving that semester out of Iowa State, but we kind of heard a little bit that he was probably going to Grandview, but nothing's really came about it until yesterday. It was yesterday. Got a text message saying that he is definitely a Viking. So I think this is one of those guys that's like a little lost kid that definitely is waiting to blossom. I mean, I'd like to see John Meeks at Grandview. Unfortunately, I think he's already committed so much time at Iowa State. He can't leave yet. But he could. Spencer is going to do really well at Grandview. Obviously, Nick Mitchell and company have done a great job of just taking anybody and turning them into the national champs. I mean, Grandview keeps getting better. It's insane.
Yeah, now they got a guy that's a former Greco national champion from Fargo, just plugging him into the lineup. Just another day for Nick Mitchell, I feel like.
What I want to see, so Nick's a guy that likes to challenge himself and test himself. What I think, if I'm Nick Mitchell, if I'm Grandview, start a women's wrestling program. Start a women's wrestling program and try to make that your next task. Maybe he's not the head coach. Obviously, you can't do both. But Iowa needs a women's wrestling program here in Central Iowa. It would absolutely kill it. We've talked to wrestlers in Iowa. They just don't have a ton of options for girls that want to stick around. There's Waldorf, but it's expensive to go to Waldorf. NAIA is an attractable, solution money-wise. So don't you think Grandview would just kill it for women's?
I mean, if they can use the same facilities that they have for wrestling, which is, Grandview's wrestling facilities is pretty top-notch for just an NAIA program. I emphasize just an NAIA program. So, yeah, if they could start a women's program and, share facilities with the men, it'd be a home run.
Yeah, that's something that I'm going to try to push. I'm sure that they've already been asked a couple times. We tried to get the United States cadet and junior team, I think, to have their practices in there. Didn't work out. They ended up going down to Simpson. But I just think it'd be a good option. There's so many things that are attractive about Grandview, being in Des Moines, and I think it'd be great for wrestling in Iowa to get Grandview on board. Or Wartburg would be really good too. Wartburg, obviously, with the history there. So Wartburg or Grandview, gotta step up, get a women's wrestling program. Other things I've got on the docket. You interviewed Alex Thompson, right?
Yes, sir.
Alex Thompson, overtime interview up at iWrestle.com. This is like the guy that you just can't talk to in college. Like, coaches don't want you to talk to him. They don't want him to be in events. And he just isn't. He's being real quiet about it. He did not give his 5 or 10 or whatever colleges out at all. Did you get any kind of feeling that he was leaning towards anybody? I mean, Iowa, inside the state of Iowa, surrounding states. Did you get anything from him?
He's a really good job. His coaches have coached him in how to talk to the media, so he's already kind of got that figured out. What kind of things to say, how to pick his words carefully. And when it came to schools, I mean, nothing, man. He tells you he's got his list in mind, and when he's ready to commit, he'll let us know.
Yeah.
That's I don't know.
I mean, I think when you got Spencer Lee, obviously at Iowa, I got to think that he's probably out at Iowa. He's big for his weight class this year. He could cut down a little bit, so I don't think he's going to be able to grow into like a 33 or 41 pounder. So I don't think Iowa will be an option. I've heard that Iowa State's out. Again, this is just what I've heard. This is not from Alex or coaches or anything, but me just talking to people. I've heard Iowa State's out. Nebraska is one that I think is definitely a possibility. What I am hearing, this is a little nugget for you. Glenwood wrestler that could be possibly going. They could be going together. God, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Anthony Sherry?
Yeah, Anthony Sherry. So good friends. I've heard a little. There's a little nugget for you. We could see Anthony Sherry leaving Glenwood to go to Underwood this summer, transferring into Underwood. These guys are pretty close. I've just heard some. These are 100% rumors. This is a rumor mill. Anthony Sherry to Underwood. So I think these guys are close. I think these guys could be double commit somewhere, and I just have a feeling that Nebraska has an in with these guys. So be curious to see what happens with that. I hate starting rumors, but I kind of.
His coach wrestled for Nebraska, right? So I mean,
yeah,
I think that's kind of a little bit of a. I don't feel too bad thinking that they kind of got, and not that Joe Stevens would push him that way, but I do think that exposure to being on that side of the state, having your coach go through that program, I definitely agree with you that my feelings is Nebraska's got a pretty good headway with him.
Yeah, just with when Nebraska has the lower weights, I just feel like that'd be a good fit.
And Kale at Penn State, I think, because they get everybody.
Yeah. If you're a top 5 recruit, you just go to Penn State. Apparently take zero money, or who knows what happens. So I was more or less talking about the rumor mill with Anthony Sherry at Glenwood. I talked to the coaches from Glenwood and St. Louis. They had no idea about it. So that definitely is something that I've just been hearing.
He would have to be like, if there's anybody that do it, I don't know, that has done it, I don't know, but there can't be very many people in the state of Iowa history that have medaled in 1A, 2A, 3A. And he would have the chance if he goes to Underwood. That's crazy.
Be pretty insane. So that's a little nugget for you. I'm trying to think if I got anything else. I'm kind of waiting to see what's happening with KJ. What if he's going to do Sunkiss Kids. One thing that is kind of grinding me a little bit with this whole Iowa State, Iowa. Everyone's talking about Iowa State, Iowa, the rivalry. Well, Iowa State lost to UNI. They lost to Doug Schwab and company this past season. So, there is no real rivalry with UNI. Iowa State. It's the first time they beat them. But, I mean, it's something that they need to be thinking about. They can't be thinking about Iowa. They got to beat UNI. So, we got to be... They got to be thinking about that too. And we want to get to a couple of Twitter questions here before we leave. We're about 40 minutes into this, but Craig is a guy that definitely tweets us a lot, and we appreciate you following us. And his question really would just kind of look at the lineup, the Iowa lineup, where everyone's going to go. His question: he's got the Iowa Hawkeyes. He's got at 125. Wagner, 133, Happel Lau, 40, Turk, 49, Brandon Sorensen, Chem Dog at 57, 65, Alex Marinelli, Caleb Young at 74, Wilkie at 84, 97, Holloway, and then heavyweight would be Bauman or Stoll, depending on what's going on with Stoll. So what are your first? I mean, the first 3 weights is the one that I want us to talk about. And what do you think? You think Wagner's ready to step up at 25 here?
I don't know. Wagner is one of the biggest. I get a lot of mixed feelings about him because I think he'd be good at 25. I think he'd be pretty solid. Brand's on your Takedown Radio episode talking about Perez as the only name, only veteran he named. And I actually ran into Jack this weekend, and I talked to him a little bit, and I said, hey, what have you been up to? You going out to Vegas for juniors? And he said, no, I'm focused on getting bigger. And he wrestled 33 this year, so I could have pushed it more, but I didn't. I kind of take that as, maybe he's looking to move into that 33 full time. I also interviewed Justin Stickley, the St. Paris Graham guy. He was a 2016 commit. He gray shirted to establish in-state tuition this year. And I asked him, because he wrestled 133, but he wrestled 120 in high school. I asked him, hey, is 125 an option? And he feels like he's a 33-pounder, but it kind of seems like nobody's ruling out 125. But for the most part, everyone feels like they're better suited at 33.
Yeah, Wagner is he's a shorter guy. I feel like he's still a little undersized for a 25, but I haven't seen him a whole lot competing. I didn't get to see him I didn't watch him. Was he at the Grandview? He's at Grandview Open.
Who was that? Wagner?
Yeah.
Yeah, he.
I just didn't watch him wrestle, so I don't want to say he's not ready. But I just feel like he's always been a little smaller. So it'll be interesting to see how big he is now, or what does he weigh in. But I think the one that's real interesting is talking about Happel getting to 33. I think that is.
I think it's nuts.
Yeah, I do. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to get in the lineup. I texted Carter to see what he thought about that, but I mean, Vince Turk is there. It's somebody that we've been pretty high on. He hasn't been able to really kind of turn the page yet, but you got to think Vince Turk is probably the favorite at 41. Phil's not going to go down to 25. I don't think Happel goes down to 33. Nor do I think he can make it. I don't know. So he's already pretty lean. So 125 to 41 is really a question mark for the Hawkeyes. 49, 57, 65, and 74 I think is just pretty much locked in. I don't see anybody beating Sorensen, Kemmer, Marinelli, or Caleb Young. With Wilkie, Tom was happy where Wilkie was at this year. So what are your thoughts on 84, 97, those weight classes there?
I'll throw in that I don't know if Gunther can beat out Marinelli, so I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to go up and take 74 from Caleb Young. That could be a fun battle. If they, I think Gunther's got a decent frame to grow into that weight. But back to your question, I found it very interesting when, the subject of Sam Stoll's brought up and Tom started talking about how Stephen Holloway's not a true heavyweight. To me, that kind of sent up a signal that maybe, I thought for sure Holloway was going to be back at heavyweight next year until Sam's ready. But when Tom said that, it kind of it put that doubt in my mind that maybe we'll see Holloway go down to 97. And then, logically that means Wilkie's going to go down to 84. Tom also didn't seem to rule that out for Wilkie. So I think they're better off with Wilkie Holloway at those two weights rather than going up at 97 and heavyweight. But I don't know. Something can happen. If Stoll has a setback, maybe Holloway stays up at heavyweight, and maybe Wilkie thinks he's better off at 97. Maybe he thinks he can develop there. So I think it's better the other way, but I don't know. I think it's still too early. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it all really kind of depends on where those guys go, is how Sam Stoll is doing. So that's the biggest question mark, obviously, there. A lot of people have already written off the Iowa Hawkeyes for what the team goes wide, but they're young. But there's a lot of young talent here They're going to struggle at 25, 33, and 41 for sure, unless they decide to do something crazy with Spencer Lee, which I don't think they will. Young, Wilkie, they got to be happy with the way Wilkie, wrestled in St. Louis. I think that was to see him step up like that. I think that was pretty good for Hawkeye. If you're a Hawkeye fan, so. Holloway, we got to see him at 285, so we don't, at 197, how can he perform? He was definitely big at 285. He just ballooned up a little bit. So, if he's cutting down to 97, that's who knows how he can do there. So he's a little short for 97, but we'll see how he does. But either way, it's going to be definitely a struggling year for the Hawks. They definitely have some All-Americans, but they won't be in the hunt, I think, for national title. Obviously, Penn State is in the hunt for the next.
Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? So that's all I got, though. I mean, I definitely would tell fans, though, that early signing day is what in. There's like a
November. Are you talking about like?
There's a signing day coming up here.
Yeah.
So that's is that the 14th or?
That could be.
Yeah, I think it's the 14th. So I don't know if we're going to see anything crazy happen here in the next week or so. But I don't have any good news to share as far as if you're a Hawkeye fan. But I think there's definitely some people on the radar right now that the Hawkeyes have a very good shot at getting. So if you're a Hawkeye fan, don't jump off the ledge about all this Iowa State news and Evans leaving too. So, but if you're an Iowa State fan, man, there's no better time to be an Iowa State fan. I feel like people are just pumped up, dumping money into the program, and I'm in the dresser. I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon. Yeah, the bandwagon is off for me. This guy's been nothing but great to me, and the way he's been able to rally the troops, rally the fans, some people that I know that have absolutely been fed up with Iowa State wrestling for the last 2 years, 5 years, have just completely changed their mind and are excited about it. And if you're an Iowa State fan or just a wrestling fan that lives in around the Ames, Iowa, buy your season tickets up because those babies are going to go fast. And if you're a UNI fan, I think this team coming back, definitely young again, and this is just a starter year, kind of just a sniff of what they got to come. So good things out of UNI, and obviously Grandview continues just getting hammers, and they will just continue to dominate NAIA until the NAIA kicks them out of that league. So
yeah, good luck, Kale. Kale's got to try and catch Nick Mitchell.
Yeah. So, but that's all I got. Ross, you got anything else? Any nuggets?
No, I feel like we really put out some good stuff tonight.
Podcast. If you get an opportunity, check out iwrestle.com. We'll have the most recent Freco tournaments that compete in this coming weekend. We are doing that free of charge. So if you've got a Freco tournament, hit us up. We'll promote it. We want to keep growing freestyle wrestling. Without freestyle wrestling, without summer wrestling, you don't have winter champions. So we are definitely on that train. Let us know. iwrestlecontact@gmail.com. Hit us up on Twitter. I'm at HagerTony. Ross, what you got here for your Twitter handle?
At Ross Becheck.
And as always, at iWrestle on Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. Follow us all. I'm Tony Hager for Ross Barczyk and everybody at iWrestle. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week for episode 85 of Potentially Dangerous, presented by MyHouse.
Get low when the whistle goes.